Okay, so there are different ways to tell if something's a function. And when you're looking at a picture, the way that we tell if it's a function is called the vertical line test. So a vertical line goes straight up and down like this right here, okay? So what we do is we draw a vertical line just anywhere on your paper, really, and you look to see how many times it touches, okay? So how many times did my red line touch this green line right here? It just touched it once, right? Right here. We could draw another one. So like I could draw one right here. Now, it's not that you're required to, but we're just we're doing this test right here. And it only touched one time. So the rule is if you draw a vertical line and it only touches once, this is a function. So you would put yes right here. This is a function. So what do you think? Is it easier to see out there? Okay, good. So right here, now if I was to draw a vertical line right here, it looks like a function, doesn't it? Because it only touches one time. But the question is can you draw a vertical line anywhere where it touches twice? And yes. And I say twice, but more than once. So right here, if I draw this vertical line, it actually touches 3 times. It's only allowed to touch once to be a function. So that's not a function right there. Okay, and it's called the vertical line test. Now, sometimes what people do is they take their pencils and they just move it across the paper and they see, would my pencil ever touch it twice? That also works. But I just always have liked to draw vertical lines. And I just look to see, does the vertical line ever, touch twice? And sometimes like I get kids that are like they're looking at it and they're like, I don't know, maybe that's touching twice. No, if you have to say maybe it's touching twice, it's probably just touching once. Like this was obvious, wasn't it? It was clearly touching, 2 or 3 times. And so it'll be obvious when it's not a function. All right, so we only do the vertical line test whenever there is a picture, a graph, okay? All right, so let's look down here. Okay, this is called a map, okay? So this is called a map. Now, the important thing about a map is the X's are always on the left and the Y's are always on the right. So even though they don't label it, you always know X's are on the left, okay? Now, the rule is that none of your X's are allowed to repeat, okay? So first off, we are only looking at the X's. Now, I'm going to do something. You're not required to do this, but I'm going to mark off the Y's. If you want to mark them off, you're more than welcome to, but you're not required to. We don't ever look at the Y's to tell if something's a function. We only look at the X's, okay? So and the reason I mark it off is because it doesn't matter how much I say, don't look at the Y's. Everything in you, like your eyes just are drawn over here, okay? So that's why I mark them off. So we only look at the X's. So the rule is we're only allowed to have one line for each X, okay? So you can see this 1 right here has 1 line coming from it. The 9 has 1 line, but what about the 6? How many lines is it? It's not allowed to have 2, so this is not a function, so you put no. Okay, so look at the next one. Do each of those X's only have 1 Y? Okay, very good. So I was trying to see if I could trick you here because I didn't mark off the Y's. I wanted to see if you would look over here and you didn't, so that was good. Okay, so this is why I usually mark this off. There's a lot of kids will glance over and see the 2 lines right there and say, no, but you did a great job of staying focused. All these have 1 line, so yes, that's a function. All right, so looking at this next one. So once again, the X's are not allowed to repeat. So here's what I like to do. Anytime I need to focus in on just the X's, I like to underline these right quick. So I'm going to underline these. The ones I've underlined are my X's. Now, you're not required to do this, but to me, it's hard to focus in. So do any of the X's repeat is our question. No. If they repeat, then that meant that I would have 2 X's, and I'm not allowed to have 2 X's. I'm only allowed to have 1. So since all the x's are different, then yes, this is a function. So the x's are not allowed to repeat. Because of what number? The 2 6's repeat, so this is not a function. Do you remember this, or are you just picking it up this quick? You kind of remember? Okay, that's good. In the end, it's pretty easy, right? So this is why we love these right here. I wish there was more on the STAR test, but if we're lucky, there'll be one. All right, so taking a look at these x's. So remember, just look at the x's, so we're not looking at the y's here. Do any of these x's repeat? No, so this is a function. Okay, the next one, do any of these x's repeat? Yeah, the 2 6's repeat, so this is not a function. Okay, so that part right there is pretty easy, isn't it? Okay. So this next part I absolutely love, because when you first look at this looks like Chinese, doesn't it? You're like, what the heck is that? And so I love this day because I always tell kids, I'm going to teach you to speak Chinese today, because by the time we're done with this, you're going to think this is really easy. Okay. Now, this was kind of the beginning of us learning to use this calculator, okay? And so we're gonna learn one of the most awesome features in this calculator. So there's 2 spots in the calculator we go. We go to calculator, okay, which is where we've been going for menu 3.1, right? And then we go to graphs. Now, do you see, can you read that green poster right there? Okay, so on that green poster there, it says anytime we have y equals, or if we have f parentheses x. So here's what we tell people. Anytime you have 2 letters back to back, like we do right here, okay, or right here, I don't care what the 2 letters are. They could be anything. It could be g of x, h of x. It could be any 2 letters back to back. 2 letters back to back make a y. And anytime we have y equals, then we're going to go to graphs in our calculator. So we're going to grab our calculator, and we're going to this right here. Now, I know that a lot of kids are like, well, this also goes to the same spot. The scratch pad graph screws up all the time. So I do not like this. Now, don't get me wrong, you can go and you can use it, but I do not like this. Okay, so I will always go to this one right here. All right, so I want you to go and open this up right there. If it gives you a gray screen, if you hit escape button right here in the top left, there you go, it'll get rid of the gray screen. Is it not working? If it's not working, you may have to get another one. Some of these calculators are wonky. Oh, do me a favor. That was the front calculator, wasn't it? Take that calculator and put it down to the side where those other calculators are right there. Thank you. I think that was a bad calculator, and then like an idiot, I picked it up and put it up front yesterday. And there was a reason I had it out. All right. That one for me. Yeah, I recognize him. Thank you, sir. All right, Jordan. So grab this. If you would go grab a calculator for me. All right, so we are learning about the calculator today. Is that you? Okay. We're learning about the calculator today. So we're already on the back side of that. When we get done, if we have time, I'll run you back through the front side of that real quick, okay? But we're on the back side right now. All right, so Jordan, just to kind of get you caught up real quick. Anytime that we see 2 letters back to back, so on question 9, which is what we're looking at right now, we see this f of x or we see this g of x. Anytime you see 2 letters back to back, 2 letters make a y. And anytime that we have y equals, I want you to grab your calculator and go to graphs. So you'll grab your calculator and click on this graphs button right there, okay? All right, so now we are going to type in this f of x right here that says x squared plus 3. Now, in the calculator, we only type in what comes after the equal sign when we go to graphs, because if you look, it's already got the equal sign there, okay? So we're going to type x, and then the squared button is right next to the 4. So the squared button, I got it lit up in red right now, is right next to 4. So x squared, and then plus 3. All right, so once you type in this x squared plus 3, we're going to hit enter, and you should see like a little U graph looking thing. Yeah, you got it? You got it? Okay. Now, so we're doing graphs right now. Now, in yellow right here, we have this poster right here that says menu 5.1. When we type something into graphs, we hit menu 5.1. So I want y'all to hit menu 5.1. And it's going to make this little X thing appear with these numbers down here. Y'all see that? Okay. Now, this right here is the most awesome thing. Now, I know I'm a big math nerd, so I get it. You know, I'm maybe a little stupid about the calculator, but this right here is stinking awesome. This makes our lives so much easier. All right. We get to do so much with this right here. Matter of fact, I don't know if I told you or not, but next year they're getting rid of this calculator for us. Okay. Next year we have to switch. They've already, over at university, they've gotten rid of this calculator. So at university, they use what's called the TI-84, and that's what we have to use next year. Okay. The TI-84 can't do half of what this calculator can do. All right. So we're lucky that this year we get to use this calculator, because if we understand this calculator, you should pass your STAR test easily. Okay. So that's one of our big focuses, understanding this calculator. Now, we're going to play for a second just so that we can understand this calculator. So in this calculator, when this point right here jumps up, we can actually control this first number right here, the x. Now, we're just going to play for a second, right? And then we'll come back and actually answer the question. So let's say I wanted to jump to 5. I want you to just simply hit 5 and enter, and this calculator jumps to 5 right here. Okay, so on your calculator, just hit 5 and enter, and watch that sucker jump there. Y'all see that? Okay, so pick a number. Pick a number that we need to jump to. Like, I don't care if it's crazy. 200. So we go to 200, hit enter, boom, this sucker jumps to 200. Now, the answer is so big, it actually on mine put an E. Did it put an E on y'all's? The E just means it's a really big number, and it has this many zeros. So it has 4 zeros. Okay. But like, you know, obviously, even if I continue going, so let's just say I pick 2,000. Okay. It's going to give me even bigger. So it goes crazy, you know, that how big it can go. The point is that you can put any number you want, but I want a specific number. So let's look at our paper real quick. So when we look at our paper, okay, it says f of 3. So I'm going to tell you what this 3 means, but in the end, even if you don't know what it means, when they give you a number, we're going to type it in, even if you don't understand why. Now, what this really means is, you see this 3 is taking the place of that x right there? It's telling you that 3 is x. But even if you're like, man, I don't understand that. If you see a number, if they give you a number, type it in every time, okay? Even if you don't understand why, when they give you an extra number, we're going to type it in. So I want y'all using the same thing. I want you to type in 3 and hit enter. What'd you get? Did you get 12? 312 right here? Okay, this 12 is our answer. So we typed in 3, 12 is our answer. So right here, you're just going to put 12. And the calculator does the entire thing for you. Okay, that's why this right here we consider to be easy. All right, so now what are we going to type in? -2. So we'll type in -2, hit enter. There you go. So our answer is 7. And then the last number we're going to type in, +2. And this comes +27. What's up?
Nothing. I think that means
Oh, joy. All day today?
Well, at least for the first half.
Okay.
So it might be after.
Well, we're gonna review and then we're taking a quiz today. So
I've got, yeah, about 12 minutes.
yeah, sounds good. All right. So let's see. All right, so 7. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought. All right, so we got 7. Okay, now on this next one, it has a G right here. So I have to use the equation that has the G. All right, so we need to start anytime we do a brand new graph or a brand new equation, we're going to start a brand new graph. So I would click this home button right here, get back to the main screen. So this home button, and then start a brand new graph. All right, so now we're typing in just x plus 1. So x plus 1. So you only type in what comes after the equal sign. And then hit enter. Once you hit enter, we're going to hit menu 5-1 and make this point up here right here. Now, I want to make sure y'all understand. This is not Magic Pixie Dust. So when you hit menu 5-1, it doesn't pop up the answer. I get a lot of kids that think as soon as they hit menu 5-1 that this is somehow magical. Okay, and oh, there's my answer. No, this is not an answer. But once this pops up, I can control this front number. So what front number, what's our number that we're going to type this in to be? 3. So you're going to type 3 and enter. So our answer is going to be 4. So do y'all agree that this is kind of easy right here? So it looked like Chinese when you first started, and I just got you to speak Chinese, didn't I? I told you I was going to get you to speak Chinese today. All right. So now we're going to type in 0. Very good. And it was 0 and 1. And then we're going to type in -1, and we get 0. So, okay. So this is not necessarily how it looks like on the STAR, where they ask you to do a whole bunch of different problems. This is what it looks like on the STAR test. Okay. Now, first off, I want you to see the first thing I see on this problem is I see this right here. Anytime we have 2 letters back to back, it's a Y. So this is Y equals. And anytime we have Y equals, we're going to go type this into our calculator, right? So let's go plug this into our calculator. So we're going to go to our calculator. And even if you're not sure why, okay, the fact that we have Y equals, we're going to go type that in. So we have X squared. So X, the squared is next to the 4, minus 3X. Now, the number one mistake that kids make is they don't hit enter. If you hit menu 5-1 right now, it's going to erase everything and you got to retype it in. So make sure you hit enter first. After you hit enter, then we can hit our menu 5-1. So that's the biggest mistake. Okay, is kids will hit menu 5-1 before they hit enter. Now remember, this doesn't mean anything to me. Okay, this means nothing. We're going to go back and look. Now, when we look at this, we need something to type in. So we typed this in, but now I need a number to plug in. Yes, you just look, and if they give you a number, even if you don't know what this means, if they give you a number, you type that number in. So you guys see? So let me type it in real quick, and just so the kids at home can see this. All right, so we typed in 5, we got 10, so 10 should be our answer, and that is C right there. So there's at least going to be one of these on the STAR test, sometimes 2. Okay. And so, and I want y'all to see this right here. Do you see on this poster right here how many different things I've written down that this thing covers? It covers a buttload of things. This is the number one thing that we do is plug stuff into graphs in order to pass the STAR test. Okay. And we train ourselves to look for Y equals, or if there's 2 letters, that makes a Y. Okay, so anytime we see this Y equals, we're plugging this into the calculator, even if we don't know why we're plugging it into the calculator. All right, so that's just one of our big things. All right, so number 11. And once you understand, you just fly through this, don't you? So we're plugging this in, so let me get caught up real quick. So you go start a brand new graph every time. All right, and we're typing in what's after the equal sign. So -3x. And notice, whenever I type in the negative, I always use the minus. I never use, I call this button right here the button of the devil. Okay, because if you use this negative right here, sometimes you get it right, but sometimes you get it wrong. Okay, so even for negatives, I type in minus. So minus 3 plus 1, minus 3x plus 1. And then we hit enter. We always hit menu 5-1. And then this doesn't mean anything to us. So we're going to type in that random number we saw, and we saw 3. So 3 and enter, and we get -8. And so here was the 3 we were talking about, that random number, and we got -8s, and the answer is B. Okay, now I'm going to see if y'all can use my strategy to figure this one out, because this one looks weird, doesn't it? Okay, but the fact that it looks weird, I don't want to change my strategy. So here's my strategy. When I see y equals, we type it into the calculator, right? So let's type it into the calculator. So all we're doing is following our strategy right now. So strategy says that we're typing this in. So we're going to go minus 5x plus 1. So minus 5x plus 1. We're going to hit enter. And then we're going to hit menu 5-1. Okay. So, and remember, this doesn't mean anything to me right now. Okay. So my strategy says that if I see, extra numbers, now, so far, we've only seen one number at a time, right? But if I see extra numbers, we're going to type them in. Well, I do see extra numbers, but I see 4 extra numbers. We're just simply going to type in all 4. And as we type them in, we're going to write down our answers. So we're going to type in 0 is the first number I see. Now, it just so happens that 0 is already there. So even if you type in 0 and hit enter, it's just going to stay right there. So what number do we see with 0? So we're going to write down 1. So I'll write down 1 and then put a comma. All right, what's the next number we see? 2. So y'all kind of see how our strategy's working right there? So 2 was -9. What was the next one? 4? Yep. So 4 was -19. And then 6 was -29. So we got -9, then we typed in 4 and got -19. Then we typed in 6 and got -29. So our strategy was, hey, if we see a y equals, we type it in. If we see extra numbers, we type them in, and boom, we got the answer, even though you may not understand why that's the answer. And this is the thing I want y'all to see, is that our strategy right here is to help us so that even when we don't understand really what's going on, our strategy will still work. Does that make sense? And so our strategy is just simply, anytime we see a y equals, that we're going to type it in, and then they give us extra numbers. Sometimes they give us 1, sometimes they might give us many, but we're going to type them in. And then whenever we type it in, whatever the y is, that's our answer. Okay? Y'all feel good with that? Okay, now, one of the things that I'm known for is I constantly like to review stuff. I don't ever want, y'all ever have teachers that like teach you unit 1 and you're like, oh my gosh, I get this. And then they're done with unit 1 and then they move on to unit 2 and you don't ever mess with unit 1. So here you just learned unit 1, right? But now we move on to something else. And by the time that you get to like the end of the semester, do you remember anything about unit 1? No, because we quit talking about unit 1, right? In every one of my worksheets, and almost every one of my worksheets, I put in review questions. I don't ever want us to forget how to do questions like this right here, because they're easy, right? And if we stop practicing these, then we'll forget how to do it. So what do we see here? Do y'all remember how to do this right here? We do menu 3-1, right? Our end solve. So this is just one equation. And so we go to regular calculator here. So regular calculator, and then we hit menu 3-1. Now, you can either put the letter D in, which is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to type it how I see it, or you could switch it to X. It's totally up to you. So I'm going to type in minus 18.5 plus 6.5 D. So make sure you put that D in there, equals minus 8.5, parentheses, 6D minus 4.5. Close your parentheses. Now, right here, you got to make sure you put comma D if you're using D. Now, if you switched it and made these X's, then you can put comma X. But if you're using D's like me, make sure you put comma D. You'll hit enter, and you get a, did y'all get a nasty decimal too? Like 0.98? Okay, so first off, I'm not gonna lie. We did this earlier this year, so I remember that I was an idiot and made it a nasty decimal. If you get a nasty decimal on the STAR test, you probably did something wrong. If you get a decimal, it should come out to nice, neat, like 2.5, something like that. This right here, no. But I think I remember screwing up and putting this problem on there. So, all right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to say 0.98. So on this right here, I want to remind y'all, this first box right here is only for positive or negative sign. Okay, so this is positive. Now, you can put a plus sign, but usually we just leave it blank when it's positive. All right, you're going to put, now if you want to put a 0, you can, but you're not required to. It's totally up to you. But you do have to put a decimal in its own box. So if you put 0, then you'll put the decimal right here. I'm just going to put the decimal. And then we'll put 9.8, and you can put as many as you want there. I'm just going to put 9.8. But each thing, including the decimal, gets its own box. And then the only thing that goes in this first box would be if there was a negative, it'd go there. But don't put any numbers in the first box. All right, so we want to make sure we don't ever forget that. So that's going to be one of the things I think you'll like about my class, is that as we keep going, and like we get into unit 4, and maybe you struggle with unit 4. Well, I'm still going to have review questions on there. So even if you don't know what we're doing that day, you can go do all the review questions. Does that make sense? And so like kids should never, ever, ever end up with a 0 in my class, because we've always got easy stuff that we can do. Does that make sense? All right. So this is actually tough, but we've been practicing this. So we want to see if we remember what to do here. So this has X and Y on the same side. And we can't do anything with this when X and Y are on the same side. So we are trying to get Y by itself. Do you remember how we do it? I remember you were good at this.
Yeah, I think you did not, but really fine.
All right, subtract. Yes, we're getting rid of the 5x right here. So we're going to subtract 5x to both sides. So we always get rid of that x first. So that's good. All right, so we're going to get rid of this right here. And then we bring this down. So this becomes 2y is equal to, and then we never combine these right here. And by the way, there is a poster right here as a cheat sheet if y'all ever want to use it. So I like to write the x up front, even though you're not required to. So I put the x up front, and then the 14, so the plus 14 will go in the back. If you write 14 minus 5x, that's the same thing. All right, so now we got to get rid of this 2, right? Now we're going to divide by 2 to everything. And then we get rid of that, and we got y is equal to. You can plug these fractions into the calculator. I'm just going to tell you, because I want to go back through the first part for Jordan, that these do not reduce. But 14 over 2 does reduce. 14 divided by 2 would give us a positive 7. And that would be your answer right there. And like I said, this part you can throw into the calculator to get those numbers.